It is 1 o'clock, so I think we're going to start. I am very impressed with how punctual everyone is. It's 1 o'clock and everybody is here, and so we're going to go ahead and start. We've got a few people coming in on Zoom that I'm going to maybe get the screen divided here in a minute, and we can see their faces also. We have one participant coming to us from Saudi Arabia, and we have one participant coming to us from Bangkok. But as Beam is working on getting this on the screen, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing I would like to do is just say Sawadee Kop to everyone who is here. I'm going to turn to the screen. There is Sister Ben. I'm going to turn to, hello, Sister Ben, can you hear me? Good. And say Sawadee Kop to all of our participants, of which right now we have one, but there should be more coming. And just welcome everybody here to this afternoon session. My name is Tim Chalice, and I'm a member of the Chiang Rai Buddhist group, and I'm the moderator for today for this session. Before we get started, I would just like to ask everybody to turn the sound off on their phones, because we had lunch and we probably turned them all on, and if you could turn them off, that would be good, just for the success of the meeting. Before we start the opening ceremony, I'm going to ask Tony McGregor here, who's the leader of our Chiang Rai Buddhist group, just to stand up and tell us a little bit about the Chiang Rai Buddhist group. Just a couple of minutes. Tony, can you help us out?
Thank you very much, Tim. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Chiang Rai. Welcome to the conference, and welcome to this little room, which is organized by the Chiang Rai Buddhist group. My name is Tony McGregor. I'm the coordinator of the Buddhist group. I'll just take a couple of quick minutes to explain a little bit about it. We're basically a group of expats, and we meet every week at Wat Phra Khao and worship and meditate and generally study the Buddha's words. So we have a program for helping the needy in the community. We help handicapped children and orphans and people who suffer from natural disasters. So that's about it. Prakru Suti was actually one of the founders of the group, so I'd like to say thank you to Prakru Suti for helping establish the group, and he is our teacher, and we're very happy to be able to be here helping him out at this time in organizing this conference. So that's all I have to say. I'm going to turn it back to Tim now.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you to Prakru Suti for helping us in so many different ways. If you happen to be one of the lucky ones that have one of the yellow booklets, we have about 30 of them floating around here. I see some extra ones over here. If you don't have one, we can get one for you. But this is basically what we follow when we have our Tuesday morning Buddhist group meetings. And we're going to, basically what we're here to do is have a meeting, just as we would on Tuesday mornings at 9:30. The only difference is, instead of studying the Dharma like we do on Tuesdays, today we'll be addressing the conference theme. So you can follow along in here if you want to. Tony is going to perform the opening ceremony by lighting the candles and the incense, and Agnes is going to read the background of the opening ceremony.
The two candles that Tony is lighting represent the two aspects of Buddhism: the Vinaya, the discipline of Buddhism, and the Dhamma, the teachings of Buddhism. The three incense sticks that Tony is lighting represent three virtues of the Buddha: wisdom, compassion, and purity. The flowers on the altar represent the beauty and the diversity of the Sangha, the followers of the Buddha. And the 3 prostrations that Tony does at the end of the ceremony represent the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Agnes. On the next page of the booklet, you'll find the opening prayer that we do every Tuesday. This will be a group reading, so we can all read it together. By the power and truth of this practice, may all beings enjoy happiness and the root of happiness, be free from suffering and the root of suffering, may not be separated from the great happiness devoid of suffering, and may they dwell in the great equanimity. Okay, on the next page, we have the chanting. And I'm going to ask Prakrasuti to please start us with the Theravada traditional chanting.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tutiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tutiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tutiyampi Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Thank you, Prakrasuti. And next we have the 5 remembrances, which are also in the book. And we read those together as a group also. But I don't have a book in front of me, so someone else start.
There is no way to escape going on. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape from ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My actions are only my true belonging. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand.
Normally at our Buddhist group we do 15 minutes of sitting meditation and then 15 minutes of either walking or sitting meditation. But because we have so much to cover today, we're just going to do 10 minutes of meditation. You choose if you want to be sitting or walking. And I'm going to ask Peter, our timekeeper, to show us when 10 minutes is up. Thank you, Peter. And now I'm going to ask Prakrasuti, who wanted to make a comment or two before we get started with the discussion. I think you have a microphone over there, Prakrasuti.
Respected Pante, welcome to Buddhist group discussion. Especially Pante Chantima, it take a long way from Sri Lanka, from Canada, and Canada and Sri Lanka, and also a friend from Wat Thaton. In the morning, start from 6 o'clock, but the driver did not arrive, so he start from Wat Thaton at 8 o'clock. But anyhow, they take a lot of effort from Wat Thaton to arrive at Chiang Rai. Welcome. And Pante from Wat Phang Min, he's from French, was ordained in Chiang Rai, and also our group. Thank you for coming today. The conference actually did not relate to us directly, but because we have our practitioner here, so I think we should present ourselves to the world. So I asked the university to have another room for us, and also to make what's it called, to have a chance to discuss with authors, and also the theme entitled promotion, protection, and preservation of Buddhist culture. I think it's very relevant to our current situation, as Pante Chantima has mentioned in the morning, about the decrease of the number of Buddhist population in the world. Even we think that Buddhist teaching is one of the best teaching in the world, like loving kindness is excellent. Many things teaching are excellent, but if we have no Buddhist, what use for the excellent teachings? Because the number of, suppose the prediction of Pew Research Center is to believe next 30 years the number of Buddhists will decrease from 7% to 5%. Suppose next 200 years, what will happen? We may like in Indonesia, in Afghanistan, where a lot of Buddhists remain there, but no Buddhists. At the same time, I think right now many people interested in Buddhist teaching, like all of you that interested in meditation. But right now we have a lot of meditation masters who teach meditation, but they don't claim they are Buddhists. They're just teaching meditation. And they think that meditation belongs to everyone, not Buddhists. So they don't claim that this come from Buddhist way, even Vipassana meditation. And also I think many teaching will be integrated into the mainstream of culture. Like in Westerner, maybe meditation will be taught in church, in school, in prison. And then it become international product, not Buddhist product. And then identity of Buddhism will lost. So this we have to discuss. We have to discuss about this. So I want to hear from you all, especially you also from very far away. Welcome to Buddhist group.
Thank you, Prakrasuti. So just a little explanation about what we're about to begin here as far as discussion goes. The theme of the conference is pretty wide, and it includes a lot of ideas. So as the Buddhist group here, we decided that it would be easiest to break it down into the 3 sections and only have 3 smaller sections for promotion, for preservation, and protection. I think I got them. Anyway, so we're going to break it down into 3 sections, and the first one is going to be promotion. And we are lucky enough to have Dr. Chandima here with us. And let me just tell you a little bit about Dr. Chandima, because Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Dr. Chandima is a research scholar at the Rowan Institute in New Jersey, USA. His research focuses on Theravada, Abhidhamma, and Buddhist ethics. He was formerly a research fellow at the Center for Studies in Religion and Society of the University of Victoria, Canada. He is also the associate editor of the Journal of International Buddhist Studies. So I'm going to let Dr. Chandima give us a little overview on the first section, the promotion of Buddhist culture in global perspective.
Good afternoon, everyone. Most Venerable Dr. and the other monastics, also the members of the Chiang Rai Buddhist group, and ladies and gentlemen. I think the topic here about promotion is a bit complicated topic if you look at from the text. But we need to discuss about the promotion in different contexts. So I thought I would discuss this short explanation in 3 layers, in 3 aspects. The first is to address some of the, I would say, misconceptions attached to why do we need to promote Buddhism. This is the first layer. The second layer is, should we abide by some of the ethics in promoting Buddhism? Okay. And the third layer is what to promote and how to promote. So the first, I think I would discuss about what are the misconceptions that are associated with the promotion. Yeah. Did Buddha ask monastics and non-monastic lay people to promote Buddhism? And we know that we are not supposed to promote Buddhism by force. This is one idea. Second is proselytization. You know, in other religions, XYZ religions, they proselytize. Conversions happen across the world. As you said, some countries, there have been things happening. The missionary work happened in the way how they're going to do that. So if you look at the fundamental idea of promotion in Buddhist text, what did the Buddha ask us to practice? Practice is the promotion. Practice itself is the promotion. I think one fine example is Prakrusati, who thought that teaching Buddhism in Thai is not enough. So I need to start a Buddhist group for English people. See, this is a living example. He made it, right? So you all are benefiting from that. Probably somebody would start a group in French for those people who speak French, right? So there are harmless ways of promotion, right? So we are not, I guess that you are not trying to, get members by force. Let members who would like to study, follow, let them join. And I see that what you are following is not only Theravada, Thich Nhat Hanh teachings from France, Vietnamese kind of things, and you kind of blend the kind of Buddhism you want to practice as expats, probably some foreigners from US, other countries too. So that's a good way to see it. So we have no forceful, I would say, influences on others to, hey, come practice Buddhism. On the other hand, no proselytization. So by considering these two, then of course the promotion is possible according to the Buddhist teachings. Second is, what are the ethics? Now, if you take a look at of the Dhamma and Vinaya, as you said that the 2 candles represent the Dhamma and Vinaya, we can see that the Buddha said to monks, you have to always be considerate of where you're going to teach Dhamma. If you look at some of the examples, one Pali Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, Arana Vibhanga Sutta, I can't remember the number of the sutta. In this sutta, Buddha says, you need to teach Dhamma in the vernacular where you're going to be trying to disseminate Dhamma. So the vernacular, according to Buddhaghosa, Acharya Buddhaghosa, could be Pali, Magadhi, Bhasa. But let's say you go to another country, you should understand how to present the Theravada or whatever the Dhamma teachings without marring the contents of the teaching. Now, this happens to many when they teach Dhamma in their own language, in the foreign languages. They might sometimes, tarnish the contents of the teaching, right? So Buddha asks us to promote in a very harmless way. Language is one thing. Second is understanding the kind of people. If you look at Sunaparanta's Punna, the monk called Punna, who asked Buddha, Bante, can I go to Sunaparanta? Now, some scholars say that it could be the Afghanistan in today's world. And the Buddha says the people in Afghanistan at that time, maybe Gandhara, right? They might be little, ferocious, and you might be facing some issues there. Then the Buddha is checking on him, how he, faces the issues. The Buddha said, what if they're going to blame you? And he said, it's okay with me because they're not going to attack me. What if they attack with the clubs or the sticks? And he said that I'm okay because they are not trying to pelt stones at me. What if they're going to kill you? And the Punna says to the Buddha, it's okay because I will expect to die at a certain point, so I'm going to get killed. Buddha is checking on how does a monk engage in a foreign, teaching of Dhamma. So that means promotion. So that means he asks monastics to follow extreme patience, at the same time to understand the language, and then to give the Dhamma that is needed to that particular community. If you go to Canada and then talk about all this Vinaya, people might be confused in the first place, right? Because they don't know, as you know, the Vinaya in the first place. But if you go there and start Dhamma from the meditation, they will get exposed to it because they know meditation a little bit. So you have to know how you present, what teachings you should talk about, right? So there are a couple of things involved in the ethics of what you call dissemination, I would say promotion. I don't like the word promotion, say dissemination. Promotion could be a marketing kind of thing, I guess. But you can use it too. And finally, the contents. What are you going to present? That's very interesting. It depends on the territory, the geographical basis, and the kind of the people. And then you have to always keep in mind that you are not converting people. And I know that indoctrination is a big issue in many places now. As you mentioned one more time in my presentation, because the reason why many people are thinking that we don't want to be called as Buddhists is that religion, the term religion is going to be a very horrific term in today's world. If you take a look at, people like to get spiritualized rather than calling that I have a religion. The reason is that we have to understand healthy ways to promote Buddhism without giving people an idea that religion is a problem. Religion is attached to Buddhism too. And as you mentioned, you said that our practices not only should be an international kind of practice, but should be given the credit as Buddhists. If you say yoga, take yoga for instance. Now, if you look at the yoga that is being practiced by the Westerners, they have stripped out the Patanjali's yoga philosophy and then making their Americanized, Westernized version of yoga. It's okay, but are you giving credit to the yoga? So if you use Vipassana, XYZ Vipassana, and then saying that there is no connection to the Buddha, no connection at all to the insight meditation, with Vipassana meditation in Buddhism, and saying that this is an internationally promoted thing, that might not be a good thing. So we have to always give the credit while we promoting, disseminating Dhamma too. That is a small advice to those of them who only look at the marketing side of mindfulness, right? And those things. I think I'm not going to take a lot of time. So misconceptions about promotion, ethics that are involved with the promotion, and then how to present Buddhism with dissemination. What are the contents that we should promote? Not every Dhamma thing should be presented in the first place. People will be frustrated. Even the young folks don't like that much. The reason is that they are not welcome. So as you did here, the group, Chenrai Buddhist group, we have to see what are the healthy ways to approach different groups, not even the expats, but also the young folks. I don't know about the Thai youngsters. What is their interest other than the cultural things? Are they more interested about the rationalized Buddhism, want to question Buddhism and all that, right? So we should look at many ways to promote. rather than saying that we want to bring Sri Lankan Buddhism to XYZ countries, this Buddhism to these countries. So we had to look at different things, as I said, misconception, to address misconceptions, and then ethics, and then what are the contents that we promote. With that in mind, I would like to conclude here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chandima. So it's good to know that when we are having our Buddhist group here, if we steer off too far, we've got Prakrasuti here to bring us back into the true Buddhism right here. So it's always good to have a teacher like him. It really is. Yeah. Oh, what? Face this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
To look the face of the speaker here, not in the screen.
Yeah, I'm not.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So the one thing that I was just thinking of. Okay. The one thing that I was thinking of was Prakrasuti recently wanted to restart the monk chats at Wat Phra Kaew.
Maybe next month. Maybe next month I will start monk chat in the temple, in my temple.
Which is wonderful for
Yeah,
people.
you can volunteer
Tourists.
too.
No. I'm not a monk. But it's really a wonderful idea for tourists. But also, I think there should be a monk chat for Thais for young people.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think there could
With
be
foreign language like English, if we have Chinese monks speaking, and then we can speaking monk, and then we can
Yeah,
can chat
right.
also in Chinese.
yeah.
Okay, anyone can discuss about the idea of promotion.
Okay, so Jules is going to lead us in our discussion on. Oh wait, we have a question here. Oh, please.
Okay, so first I would like to thank Prakrusute for inviting me. I'm a foreign monk here in Chiang Mai, thanks to Luang Po, the Wat Phang Min. And I decided to be monk 3 months. Why? Yeah, because I still have a life. But my parents died 30 years ago, and it was a dramatic death. My mother killed herself because my father was dying from cancer. And within 12 days, I lost my parents. So it changed my life. But you understand about suffering, but not immediately. Took me a lot of time. I went in many countries, and I never discovered the truth. I went in Slovakia, close to Russia. I went in Spain. Then I went to Philippines, and I will explain about Philippines. And then I had the opportunity to come to Thailand. And I understand that, this country is very special. And I start to learn about Buddhism. Remember that Buddha, the 2 first letters of Buddha is be you, be yourself. And I will continue what you express about the practice. What I like in the topic is 3 P, promotion, protection, and preservation. Why I'm monk? I'm monk for my parents. P for parents, because each person has a huge debt with parents. We forget that if we have life here, it's because of our parents. So parents, and I think many monks express that if you have your father on your shoulder here and your mother on your shoulder there, you cannot go very far. You will never be able to repay your debt. So that's why I decided 30 years after the death of my parents, not to repay my debts, but to give them like a recognition. And what you said about Buddhism, for me, we say Sasana Put, Sasana Christ, Sasana Islam. I don't like the word religion, sorry. I like the word spirituality. And spirituality is about you cannot do good if you are not good to yourself. You cannot respect other people if you don't respect yourself. And this is about Buddhism. This is about what you say, practice. What you use about in Buddhism, you use words like precept, principle. I was Christian is not about commandment, not do this, not do that. It's different. Doesn't mean that I criticize other religion. But I found, and as you say, peace. Peace is very important. And thanks to Prakrusuti, before I write an essay about my ideas about, why I follow the Buddhist way, but you speak about the 10 perfection. I think in the video you speak about the 10 perfection. And I like it very much, because the 10 perfection, nobody is perfect, but you have perfection you can follow. And one of his perfection is patience. And one of the words that I will use, or two of the words for P, like same for promotion, protection, and preservation. The first word is purpose. In Buddhism, I found a purpose. This is very important. You should have a purposeful life. And the other, and it's part of the why we are here. We are in a path, in a way. And to finalize my presentation, I will speak about the 3T. Because in many religions, Christian religion, you are in the name of the Father, in the name of, this is the three name in God. In the name of God Father, God Son, and God Holy Spirit. But Buddha is not a God. He's a teacher. So it's the letter T. What does he teach? He teaches Dhamma. It's about the truth. It's another T. And what is Sangha? Sangha is the team. If there is no team, you cannot promote the truth. And you cannot teach the truth. That's why I found in Buddhism something which is which gave me like peace inside myself. And I will give, like I said, a case study in Philippines, because I have a very important link with the Philippines. I gave opportunity to monks, Buddhist monks, to go to the Philippines. I make, I say, merit to give opportunity to one monk from Chiang Mai, Wat Sisupan, and one monk from Chiang Lai, Wat Wafai, Ti Hambepan, to go to Philippines with me. And Philippines and Thailand there is a deep link. You have many teachers, English teachers from the Philippines. In Philippines, it was a colony. Thailand was never a colony. Philippines was a colony from Spain, then from America. And they have a way, they don't deal in the right way with their health. Many Filipinos are fat because they eat a lot and they don't think about their body. And as I said, from Thailand, there is meditation. But there is also, as I say, the Thai culture about the well-being, massage, the food. And this is also something you can promote. Sorry, I will say like marketing a package. But it's a way how you can promote about your own well-being. So about the health. And the very last thing I will speak is about the word in Thai, pap. And pap in English, it makes picture, another P. And where do you find the word pap? You find it in Sukapap, it means health. Sakayapap, it means potential. And Kunapap, it means quality. When you understand about this, quality, potentiality, and health, this is about how you can promote Buddhism.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to mention that we have 4 microphones that we can share. There's one in the back here. I have one. I believe there's one. There's one here. So we can pass these around and have a discussion. Jules is going to start out. Jules, let me get you started here. He's going to lead the discussion on promotion.
All right, thank you for your words. I was happy that you started off. Promotion is indeed, for me, also a very marketing term. And the big thing for me personally for Buddhism against other religions, I see Buddhism, and I think you do too, more as a philosophy than as a religion. And it's just the things that you said already. Buddha is not a god. He's a teacher. And you can be a Christian and a Buddhist at the same time. I think there are many, many examples of that. I'm not so sure if that also goes for the Muslim community, but it should be the same thing. And I think the thing we should promote or try to promote is more Buddhism as a philosophy. Okay, we are in Thailand, so we have the Theravada tradition. Other places have the Mahayana tradition. But in essence, they all come back to the same Buddha. There's not a different Buddha. It's the same Buddha. It's the same teachings. The only thing, maybe the difference, and that's a big maybe, is the explanation of the teachings. But if you go back to the teachings of the Buddha himself, they're all the same. So how can we, monks and also not monks, promote Buddhism in this way? I like to hear your ideas, especially from the monks, because I believe very much in the spirituality, that we should promote that in a way. I don't know how to promote. I think meditation, vipassana, I think is not Theravada or Mahayana, it's just Buddhism, vipassana. That would be a good way to promote. What do you guys think?
Thank
Hello,
you, Tim.
good afternoon, everyone. All right. Well, first, I want to share my gratitude and my respects to the monks, the Sangha here, and also share my gratitude to the lay supporters and all the people who were able to make possible the meeting today, and also allowing me to, and also my brothers to share. I heard these words: promotion, protection, and preservation. And what I ask myself is, about what? It's as if we have forgotten the what to do. Because before engaging in any promotion, in any preservation or protection, what is it that we are doing? And the first thing that I ask myself is, what will the Buddha do in this situation? And also, I connect with my heart and I ask myself, what is my part in this process, or in this day and age where the world is so convoluted, it is so confusing, where ill teachings have arisen, and when the Dhamma can also fade away from the truth, from the clarity, from the purity of what the teaching is about. The teaching did not start with the intention to promote, preserve, or, I forgot the other word, protect. Upon Buddha's awakening, he just stayed with his heart and feared to come to the world to share. So, in this case, I will ask myself, what is it that we are practicing? What is the real teaching? Because if we are not truly practicing or embracing the teachings of the Buddha, you cannot protect, you cannot promote, you cannot preserve anything. You will be leading yourself into a wrong path, and you will carry along yourself others to perdition, to more suffering. So I was seeing some slides when the Venerable presented the numbers of declining, and I asked myself, what is the trend for dukkha? Has it gone up? Has it gone down? It is just the nature. It is just present in everything we do. So what I will do in my own self, in my own practice, if I can practice, if I can carry on, take to my heart the words, the suggestions, the instructions of the Buddha, without thinking to promote, to protect, or to preserve anything, I will be changing myself, and as a consequence of my practice, naturally, this Dhamma, like the fragrance of a flower, spreads without any intention or without any pushing or pulling. It is just the nature of the fragrance of the flower. When the sun shines, the sun doesn't have any agenda to send the light, the warmth. It's bright, it just shines. And all those around receive that light. And the sun doesn't send you any invoice to repay what he has offered. It is just constantly bright, shining, and offering just what the sun is. So when the teachings get polluted, when there is confusion, when there is no guidance based on the lack of experience, there is the problem. So we need to come back to the fundamentals. What did the Buddha give us? What was the legacy of the Buddha? What did he do in his own life? His own life is and has been just a living testimony in many different situations, circumstances, where he was challenged, where he faced different vicissitudes of life. And how did he practice? How did he solve the problem? How he continued to embrace his life and the life of those who followed his same intention, to be able to overcome that dukkha, that suffering. In what? In simple things, either for monks or for lay people. As lay people, I was a lay person before, and now I happen to be a monk, but I am still a human being. And dukkha doesn't stop when you put this robe. It continues to squeeze in, just like the air, like the poison that is everywhere, that if we are not careful, it constantly poisons your heart. So, as a lay person, in your life, what do you do? How do you observe your body, speech, and mind? What are the things that you engage in? How are you able to reflect back, to look within? How can you improve yourself as a human and do or cultivate the qualities that the Buddha cultivated? When we embrace the teaching in that simplicity, you can see when you do a generous act to someone, the radiance, the warmth that emanates from your heart, and also the person that receives that. So then I ask myself, did I have to think about promoting my cake that I baked for my neighbor? No. I just do it. And in that doing it, the rest takes care of its own. And if we begin to concern too much about holding on even to the teaching in time will also pass, like all things. But this is not to sit back and not care. like the Ajahn said, we need to care. How do we care? With the community of monks that we try to practice and preserve the practice in our own heart. That is the real preservation. As a consequence of that, the community that is in contact with the monks is able to receive that Dhamma. So how are we able to go back to the fundamentals? And I would like to address to everyone's hearts here, what is your intention? What is the intention that you have before the word Buddhism? Take it aside, put it down. Before even Buddha, when he was a prince, he simply had an intention. And that intention was so pure and so clear and so simple. He wanted to be free from suffering. And he found suffering in everything that he did and everything he thought. In every single moment, even seeing his child being born. For many people that would be cruel, that would be inhuman. But the purpose was to really follow that intention. When he went out to the open with no teacher, with no teaching, he had his own intention in his heart, very clear. 3 times he tried in his first teachers, Alara Kalama, Udaka Ramaputta, and the teachings of asceticism. When he reached the peak of the practice, he faced the teacher and said, "I'm sorry, my intention is not fulfilled. I may leave." And he went on. Even in the last 6 years of striving, he rejected any promotion from whatever he has learned because he was not fulfilled in his own intention. And he went on until he found that freedom in his heart. And upon liberating himself, he refused to come back. The first thought was, I better stay in this abiding. And he was inquired and suggested to go back to the world. But the teaching, if we keep it simple, if we keep it pure, and if we really follow those steps, we don't need to worry about the rest. When there is the right practice, the right following of the footsteps of the Buddha, the rest can follow along. So, in the recent times that perhaps Buddhism or the Dhamma, in terms of people who follow it, has declined, I will ask myself, perhaps ill teachers and ill teachings have been spreading, and because that is happening, perhaps people don't have a chance to be guided correctly, to really connect with the fundamentals of the teaching. If we are able to rescue that, the rest will fall into place. And in time, if the teachings also become extinguished or pass in time through this world, then that is also part of the nature. But as the Ajahn said, what can we do that is still in our hands? So I would suggest just come back to your heart, ask what is your intention, and see if that intention truly aligns to the intention of the Buddha. With sincere gratitude for everyone's presence and for allowing me to share.
Okay, I think these are very true words. There's a couple of things I want to make a connection with. I think the Buddha found his way, found his path, but do not forget, Buddha did promotion. He could have chosen to stay in the forest and stay with his own ideas, but he chose to share it with other people, to teach. His teachings are basically his biggest promotion. And what people do with the teachings, that's not up to the Buddha or to anyone, only to each individual themselves. But also what you mentioned in the cake, it's not the cake, but if it's a good cake, it's a promotion from the cake. And you don't have to talk about it, but people eat the cake, they like it. That's a promotion. So they want to know how you make it or the special steps to go to the same cake. So I see promotion in Buddhism, it's basically the teaching of the Buddhism or the Buddhist thoughts of the Buddhist way. That is the biggest promotion. How to bring it over to other people, that's a huge challenge. Every monk has started as a lay person. So in the path of the Buddha, that's layperson monk is a step up. So the monks are our teachers. So they have the means to promote the ideas of the Buddha to the people who don't know the ideas of the Buddha. That's a promotion, but that's a teaching as well. I see Prakusati go, yeah. What, maybe you want to say something more about it?
If you have online person who want to discuss, please bring us.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll just mention that. Just to mention for the online folks that if you have something that you would like to, a question or a comment, if you have your audio and video on, you can like wave your digital hand or do something and we can bring you into this discussion. Sister Ben, I see your hand is up. Please speak with us.
Yeah, thank you. That but this time I'm not talking for my assignment. I'm just listening to you all have discussion. So then, some kind is the thought that abruptly comes to me. We mostly talk about the term of promotion. Promotion, and we feel that many people feel that promote is something like we selling something. But for me, I think it's just a terminology. It's quite a common, it's quite a normal. If people have the good things, the best things, so then they have to want to show, just to share, to explain, or to introduce, or trading. And if we think in the worldly perception, we as the Buddhist followers, we are the Buddha salesman. So we try to show, we try to explain, we just try to demonstrate what the best thing, what the best valuable that we have, or that we inherit from our big boss, the Buddha. And so then, now I think I heard from, not about the word promotion, but I think I heard how to, the way to promotion. And so then something come up to me, promote. Promote is sound like in Pali, pamucha or pramod. Pamucha or pramod is mean joyful, delightful. So then the way that we promote, the way that we as a salesman, to sell people, to show, to introduce, or to anything that just like ehipasiko, just come to see. So then, as a good salespeople, we have just to show out, to point out the benefit, what they will get, what they will have. Not just only try just to sell about the qualification, about the how to use, about anything. But if the customer don't have delight enough, joy enough, don't understand enough, so then we cannot sell the things. So when we think about promotion, so think the way in a pamusha or pramod, to be joyful, both the one who give, the one who disseminate, the one that who share. And at the same time, we try just to make the other side, the one who the receiver or the potential to get joyful, to get delightful, and to see the real benefit, the purpose or the useful of the things that we try to promote. Okay, that's all that I want to share with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sister Ben. Is there anyone else online that had a question or a comment at this time?
Thank you, Tim. First of all, I would like to share my opinion because we nowadays know that every country in the world, mostly have lots of problems. Problems in the world now, the root, fundamental, are from the heart, not purify heart. So, how to solve this problem, how to solve the root is very essential. So, for my opinion, meditation is the best because when we do meditation every day, we will know ourselves well and we will clean our heart. Our body will clean every day. How about my heart? We clean my heart or not? How to make our heart to be clean? That is for meditation. So meditation can solve to every person in the world. If many people in the world have purified, have good mind, so the problems of the world will be less. So, my opinion, I want concern to promote that this is from Buddhism or from any religion because the purpose is to solve the problem. Nowadays, we have the problems not only ourselves. We can see that in the family have lots of divorce. In society, when you work, have lots of advantage. So that's from greedy, angry, and many things, murder. Why this happen? Because of we need a lot. So the main thing or essential when we do meditation shouldn't, we should aware that today what we do good thing or bad thing. Good words from our mouth, good mind or not. That is essential that we should realize in each day. So if people in the world do meditation, it is good. But if we think that meditation is Buddhism, how about other religion? Because we want to solve the problem of the world, right? So we don't need to have any condition that is for Buddhism or not. Thank you for Prakusti today for participate.
Thank you, Nityapan.
Today. Thank you.
And as a moderator, I'm going to have to move to the second topic because we have a time limit here. And Sister Ben, are you still there? Sister Ben, still there. Okay, good. The second is protection of Buddhist culture and global perspective. And we have Sister Ben to give us the overview. But we're going to have Agnes first give an introduction. Yes. Okay. Sure, go ahead. Sister Ben, just wait a second, please.
Is it on? Is it on? Okay. Welcome, everyone. Gratitude. Thank you. Just a brief metaphor on the subject of promotion. So let's say somebody is promoting a trip, a journey to Himalaya, correct? He's selling it, he's advertising it, he's very enthusiastic about it. But so you buy the trip, right? You pay, you go on the plane, but when you arrive, very quickly, unfortunately, you realize there's this person who is supposed to be your guide, never been there, doesn't know the area, doesn't know where to go, how to trip, where to put camp, the provision, nothing. It's a very dangerous situation. You'll probably get lost. So what kind of reputation, what kind of consequence will come to that? Well, it's a bad promotion, right? It's a bad repute for this trip, for this kind of advertisement. So going back to this point, it's just so important that before you promote, you actually have the right, the secure, the safe pathway. And in this case, it's the path, the knowledge of the path. And if you don't, it is no longer called promotion. Well, promotion, we've been using this word as a, again, in this sense of promoting something. It's if you don't have it, it is called a scam. That's what it's called. So, just that. Gratitude.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Sister Ben, you still there? Sister Ben?
Okay. Hello.
Okay. Listen, yeah, I'm going to have Agnes introduce you, and then you can just give the overview on protection. Okay, just 1 second, please.
Okay. So, Sister Ben's Dharma works. Our meditation teacher at Suanmuk Meditation Retreat in Suratani, and a special lecturer at International Buddhist Studies College in Buddhist Studies faculty. She's at MCU, Wagnoi, Ayutthaya. And if anyone is interested, Sister Ben also has a wonderful Sunday night mindfulness meditation from 7 to 8 o'clock on Zoom, Bangkok time. And if you see me afterwards, I'd be happy to share that information with you if you need it.
Okay, Sister Ben, take it away. Protection.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear Agnes clearly, so then you can hear my voice. Is okay?
Yes, okay. Yes, you're fine.
Okay. My name is Dr. Machi Benjawan Mungchukkel, but for Buddhist Chiang Lai group member, have known me as Sister Ben. And so first of all, I would like to thank Chiang Lai Buddhist group and organizers of this conference, of international conference, for inviting me to share, to be a part of this important conference. And so then my assignment is the introduction about the theme of protection. So it's one of the three aspects of promotion, protection, and preservation of Buddhist culture in global perspective. So then come to the word of promotion. So protection. So protection for my understanding means to do something to maintain the security and well-being within society and communities that we belong to. And so then we have to do something, we have to make something happen just to keep our society, our community, or even our identity to be free, to be safe. But protection in Buddhist culture, So there's well-known, so that's quite eminent and well-known Buddhist culture we call ahimsa or non-violence. And so everyone knows that ahimsa has become a signature of Buddhist followers. So protection in this meaning under the Buddhist perspective doesn't mean that we have just to invade, fight back, or get revenge, or even to annihilate some others that have different beliefs and cultures of ours. But instead, protection in the way that we have to be firm enough with our strong standing point. And in the same time, we try to understand and accept the difference of others. But we keep our identity, follow the Buddha path. And this is the way that we can do from ourselves, start from ourselves. As the Buddha said, just to answer the question or request of Ananta, the great attendant, who asked the Buddha that when the Buddha passed away, so who will be nominated or who will be nominator or inheritor? Who will take care or protect the Buddha Sangha or Bhikkhu Sangha? And this was the Buddha answered Ananta. I say in Pali, and then I think it's quite well known a quoting. He said, Yo vo anantamaya thammo, javinayo jatesito banyato, so vo mamatayena sattha. Anand, my teachings and my teaching and disciplinary codes or rules that I lay down, I present, I file for you all. This will be your prophet. This will be your leader. This will be your founder when I pass away in the future. So then, even Lord Buddha, the great teacher, have no more exist. He passed away. But we, as the Buddha followers, as the Buddha disciples, we can maintain, we can preserve the good things, the inherit that the Buddha laid down for us, for the later generation. What is the heritage that the Buddha left for us? It's Dhamma and Vinaya. Dhamma is teachings. The Buddha teaching that according to the law of nature, so that this always be a Paramattha Satya. It's always be the truth. It's always be true forever. Because it depends this upon the worldly conditions. So it doesn't matter that how long that the world keeps changing or moving. The Dhamma still be exist. The Dhamma will show the essence, the most important essence on its own way. And from Vinaya, disciplinary rules, the code of conduct, the Lord Buddha laid down for his disciple, for the Buddha Sangha, to make sure that it doesn't matter that how long that the time passed, all Buddhists, all Buddha's a disciple, all Bhikkhu Sangha, still do the same as the disciple in the first realm or in the early time is doing, to keep the track, the right track, to keep the way that the Buddha laid down. So then, in some cases, there's rules and regulation to show the one who follow, not to distract to the ways, or just not to bend it, curve it, or make it different from the Buddha laid down. That's why the Buddhism just have been preserved, have been exist in the world, in the modern world, more than 2,500 years. So when we talk about protection, instead that we look out and be worried and concerned about the worldly crisis, the worldly situation, I just worry about that. So now, the one who understand the Buddhist teaching is less and less, or there are many Buddhist followers just go out from the way, the main way, or distracted, or make benefit from the promotion in the wrong way. Just the Pante just said before that. Don't know anything but try to sell out.
Right,
Just
right.
benefit. And then so now this about the promotion that we have to talk about, this discussion about, and for whom, for what, and from whom that we have to protect. So I will leave to moderator by quoting what the Lord Buddha says to us. Let's come from protection through Satipatthana, Samyutta Nikaya, volume 19. Protecting oneself, one protects others. Protecting others, one protects oneself. And how does one in protecting oneself and protect others? By patience and forbearance, by a non-violent and harmless life, by loving kindness and compassion, and by the diligent and unwavering practice of meditation. So thank you for your kind intention.
Yes, thank you, Sister Ben. Thank you so much. And in a moment here, I'm going to turn it over to Colin. I just found out, Chris Luard, I know you're online. Stick with us. We're going to fit you in here. But right now, we're going to wrap up the discussion on protection. So stick with us, Chris. Okay, Colin?
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Ben.
It's okay. It's okay.
I think the title of today's conference, Promotion, Protection and Preservation, is very relevant, and all three subjects feed into each other in a sort of circular fashion, not just because of the alliteration of the three Ps. But if we're going to talk about protection, I think we need first to think about what, if we're going to preserve Buddhism and promote Buddhism, which to all intents and purposes are very closely linked objectives, the negative side of that is the protection, because we need to ask ourselves, does Buddhism need protection, and if so, from what? And coming back to what Ajahn Dr. Chandima said this morning about the decline in the percentage of people who follow Buddhism in the various countries, we need to ask ourselves, what are the reasons for this? Is it perhaps that Buddhism is not as attractive to younger people, with older people dying off? Is it the younger people who are not turning to Buddhism or not staying within the religion? What are these reasons? Are there other things about Buddhism that those that are not Buddhists find unattractive? And in order to decide what protection Buddhism needs, I think first of all we need to define what are the dangers and threats to Buddhism? How do they, what are the big things that have outside working on people who may be interested in, like we've said before, in meditation and in principle interested in Buddhism, but what puts them off? Why don't they come in? What's the reason? Have they not been exposed enough? Or is there something that they find unattractive, and this needs to be identified? And one other thing I think is, if we're going to preserve Buddhism into the future, then we need to make sure that Buddhism remains a relevance within society. And the question is, how do we ensure that the relevance is continued, not just for the next 5 years or 10 years, but for the next 5, 10, 20 generations, for people who are going to be coming into the religion or living within the religion long, long, long after everybody in this room has died and passed away. And that's what I wanted to ask and try to provoke discussion. What are the things that are threats, are dangers, are negative aspects or perceived negative aspects in Buddhism that need to be tackled? If anybody has any
So you mentioned, because you mentioned about the stats that you saw in the morning. I was thinking, what kind of unattractive stuff that could have prevented the young folks, or I would say people who are average, looking at Buddhist teachings, to be so. Now, one thing is the translations of Buddhism sometimes may have impacted. For example, the translation of some of the very key teachings, like dukkha. Now, dukkha, the reason is that the first European translations happened in the 18th century and early 19th century, were done by the people who were, more influenced by the Bible. So these translations went similar to the biblical canon. So then they introduced, like, for example, the Politic Society in London. They translated, they did an amazing job. But when you read, you see that is suffering the only meaning to dukkha? So people get to read these works. So the Buddhism says everything is suffering. I mean, as Ajahn said, two ideas actually, very interesting. And you said that even we look at promotion, we have to look at from a different angle. I mean, I like that, teachings can be ill teachings can be spreading, not even at this time, even at the time of the Buddha. The monk Devadatta changed the mind of other monks. The Jains changed the mind of the other Buddhist followers too. It's not only a threat that can happen to today's world. Now we are well equipped. We have at least many places to make our voice, like internet. You can have your own YouTube channel, whatever. At that time, it might not be the case. So one thing that might keep people become unattractive to some of the teachings could be the translation. So I think the scholars have to find out what could be the best way to sort that out. That is one thing. Even you call early Buddhism to be the most authentic teachings. We have questions. As a scholar about early Nikayas, I know there are questions. Like Sister Ben said about statement, Dhamma Vinaya is going to be your teacher. Then somebody might ask a question. Why did the Buddha not like somebody who want to take the next step after him? right? So there are questions. So the problem is the second part of the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, where she mentioned that quote, was added later, because there are the funeral arrangements of the Buddha. Buddha did not talk about. So while we respect the teaching, so we have to look at the corpus, the textual traditions in a bit serious way. I mean, not to change the way what we want, but to look at the original intended meaning. That is one thing. Second is, now we are talking promotion, protection, preservation from the point of contemporary world, right? That is our target. Otherwise, our gathering might not be fruitful today. As Ajahn told, in Philippines, people are not concerned about their obesity. Yeah, mindfulness, no matter what, mindfulness definitely helps somebody to check in with their weight management, right? And somebody else told the meditation. And we know that there are problems with the war outside our places. So I think there are direct solutions that we can see from Buddhism. Also, we have to check in with other problems too. So one thing is translations. Second thing is the modern speakers. I can speak for Sri Lanka. If you watch some of the Sri Lankan, there are very good Dhamma talks too. Most of the Dhamma talks discourage people to spend a secular life. Don't make children. Dukkha, right? Don't make it. And then you are extending your sansara. I think we have to separate out. If you want to be serious, go this way. If you want just to be a follower, like Vyagapajja, the Vyagapajja said, Bhante, we are very luxurious beings. We don't want higher teachings. We need some teachings just to spend our life. Let's focus some teachings for them too. So I think we have to separate out, depending on the demand of the people. Rather not saying the higher teaching to everyone in the first place. That would be I would say, outright rejection, separation, isolation from the teaching. So I don't want to talk a lot, because I've been talking a lot today. So 2 things that I think about the unattractiveness.
Thank you, Dr. Chandima. That's a lot about the academic side of things. What is there on the practical side? A question perhaps open to everybody, because there's a lot of people in here have come to Buddhism later in life. They've not been born into it. What are the things that you find difficult about Buddhism? For example, do the ladies think that there is a sort of inherent misogynism within Buddhism? How do you feel about the fact that there are a lot of Hindu gods, Chinese gods, which are somehow incorporated into Buddhism, which for me personally is something that I don't like? What do you feel about the animism that is still quite rife? Is that something that can be or should be preserved into the future, or should that be somehow allowed to fade out? What are these things? Does anybody have some?
With gratitude, I humble to share my own journey, just very aligned with the theme of a conference today. So with gratitude on the Venerable Present. Yeah, I start with the intention to be a good person, as a lay person, to work in the society, and also try to, bring my own heart to support. But after condition, company, this society, but I cannot find the right person or the right method to really solve the problem in the root. And by have chance to connect with the meditation, and since I connect, I really felt this is the path. So put it in Vietnam, I feel alone because around there no one meditate, don't know Theravada, and but just the small group that I start with, and I know, because I know this the path, I have faith. Just the first time I took the 5 precepts, and I took it for my life. So I saw a lot of suffering, and I don't know why myself just involved to that suffering. Just like the Venerable Buddha mentioned about the intention. And what do you see? So I protect my practice, my faith. It's really difficult, I want to say, very difficult. When I was in Vietnam as a lay person, it's really challenge, a lot of challenge. It just support for my faith. So I want to say about faith. When I have faith in the teaching, but on my direct experience, and when facing a lot of struggling in the family, in the company, in the society, I also feel I want to run away. I find a peaceful place. It's not here. But when that moment I ask myself, what I'm looking for, what my heart looking for.
I'm going to have to interrupt for a second. Please hold that thought. It's a wonderful story. We have someone online who has to go teach a class who's going to do an overview. So if you could just hold that for a second. Chris Luard, are you there? Chris, you need to be a little louder, please.
Oh, okay. I can only speak louder.
No,
Is
that's
that better?
fine. No, that's perfect. I'm deeply sorry for interrupting you, but this gentleman has to go to teach a class. So Peter's going to give the introduction. He's going to overview, and then we can come back to you, okay? I have no choice.
Okay, sorry about that, Chris. We're just a little bit late for you. Christopher Luard has been studying and practicing meditation for over 30 years. He's received formal training in Korean and Japanese yen, Maha Mudra, and Dojun from the Tibetan traditions, Vipassana from the Theravada Burmese tradition, and Vedanta from the Hindu tradition, as well as more modern traditions. Chris currently teaches worldwide and is passionate about offering these teachings in a secular voice for people of any faith or religion. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. And thank you to the Chiang Rai Buddhist community for inviting me to speak a little bit today. I really appreciate that. It's always a pleasure, and it's an honor. Thank you. So, preservation. So when I was invited to give this talk and was given the topic, I felt, I'm going to talk about the preservation of a Buddhist culture. And what struck me was the irony of this, because here I am, born in America, born to both parents were European. And so Buddhism had probably been in America maybe 10 years or 15 years, perhaps at the most, in America at the time of my birth. So I feel a little bit out of place offering a talk around the preservation of a Buddhist culture, seeing as how I am most certainly an outsider looking in. Now, all of that being said, I have studied quite deeply for most of my life in many Buddhist traditions, as Peter was saying. And so what comes to mind about speaking about preservation of a Buddhist culture is really, for me, the teachings. That's what I have kind of an understanding over, more than a particular culture from which Buddhism perhaps arose. So I'll speak about that. And what comes to mind is a parable from the Buddhist tradition that the Buddha told about a person who comes to the edge of a riverbank, and this person needs to cross the riverbank to get to safety at the other side of this river, and he has no vessel, no way of getting across. He can't swim apparently, and so he cobbles together through reeds and various pieces of wood and rope a raft. Some of you, probably most of you, know this parable already. So this gentleman then, or person, gets on the raft, and he or she, or they travel across the river, and eventually they make it to safety, or this person makes it to safety. The Buddha then goes on to ask his listeners, does this person then hoist the raft on their back and carry their raft with them through the rest of their life, carrying the weight of this raft on their back, or do they set the raft down at the riverbank edge and continue their journey with a lighter load? The Buddha is drawing a comparison there between the raft and the teachings that he's offering. And so I think if we're really speaking about preserving these teachings in a meaningful way, we have to kind of discern, well, what's meaningful going forward, and what do we leave at the side of the riverbank? What can we put aside? What perhaps parts of the canon are weighing us down, and what perhaps might lead us to liberation, to freedom? And so this isn't the first time this question has been asked from the Buddhist tradition. When Buddhism migrated from India to Japan, very likely it was asked similar questions, right? How can we make these teachings speak to this culture that's so different from the ancient Indian culture from which it's coming from? Likewise, when Buddhism went to China before Japan, it was asked that same inquiry. What teachings will match this culture that Buddhism is being welcomed into, and what teachings need to be politely set to the side? And so from those explorations, we can see Buddhism flourished in China. In many of the schools of Buddhism that flourished in China, particularly Chan, which becomes Zen, was able to embrace the culture that it was entered into, was able to embrace Taoism and mix and mingle in this lovely, eloquent way, which allowed the current culture of China to welcome the teachings of the Buddha, to embrace the teachings that the Buddha put forth, politely leaving aside the ones that didn't match the culture of the day. And likewise, we see the same thing in Japan. When Buddhism went to Japan, the people of Japan said, well, which teachings here make sense for us? and which teachings can we put to the side? The teachings that matched Shintoism were warmly welcomed, and the teachings that contradicted with the current belief structures were politely put to the side. So perhaps, if I may be so bold, if I was to say what part of a glass of water would I like to preserve, well, it wouldn't be the book about the glass of water, right? It would be the experience of the water that really is what I would like to preserve. And so speaking about Buddhism, perhaps it's not the ism that's so important. And here we can see this as the mindfulness movement that's sweeping across Europe and America and the rest of the world. I think it's, you know, the ism that becomes quite challenging for a younger generation and for people of all ages. You know, so many wars have been fought in the name of an ism, right? The power of dogma. But we see mindfulness flourishing. Yet if we've been studying Buddhism, practicing Buddhism, we know that or mindfulness rather, arrives to us from the Satipatthana Sutta, from the Buddhist tradition. But it doesn't matter. What's really important is the benefit that practice brings. What's really important about the glass of water is that it can parch your thirst, or it can quench your parched thirst, rather. Right? Not where the water comes from or if the glass is clean. What matters about compassion and loving kindness isn't that it comes from the Metta Sutta, but that it can bring people together in a healing way. So I think that's all I have to say. Would love to hear any comments or shares around this topic.
Okay, Chris, we're actually going to have a little discussion around that. And thank you for appearing. Yeah. I know that you've got a very tight schedule, so we had to fit you in here. And thank you so much. And Eamon.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, Eamon, I am going to turn it over to you to lead the discussion on preservation. But before we do, in all fairness, I really want to return. I'm so sorry I had to interrupt you, but Chris had to go to teach a class, and if we didn't stop, he would miss his introduction. So please, and talk as long as you want.
Yeah, I'm very happy that he shared just the spirit that I share with my own heart when I'm looking for the path as the lay person. Have a group of meditation, try to protect, try to support, and also really support myself. But come to the point that I ask myself, you know, a lot of burden as a lay person because I can feel the way, but to really walk and experience. Then I ask my heart, you know, now is the time. After many years as a lay person practice with a lot of challenges. So when the intention set to be walk straight to the path, so it sent me a journey, just move on and on to the teacher, Vietnam, Burma, Thailand, and it really I want to say grateful for every teacher, every person, every condition that just offer a opportunity that I can keep move forward with my intention to be free. So the journey, as you share, like protection and perseveration is on in our heart, our intention, because when we walk straight on the path, we can find a peace within. Then that peace can share by direct experience, by the mirror, because I know my mother, my friend, when they look at me, they feel some peace, they feel peace, and they ask, what's your practice? So I come from something very small, personal, and then close to my family, the neighbor, friends. So, but with more clear, my direct experience. So, just like yesterday, my friends, as a monk from India, so he tried to practice in samatha. And I asked him to share with him, yeah, you need to really protect your breath, your mindfulness in the breath. Because he shared difficult when come out and face with the different situation, the eye, the nose. So a lot of thought, a lot of disturbance. So I asked him, yeah, if you really sincere to your practice to achieve jhana, then you need very sincere, very protect. How difficult outside is your own protection for your own practice. So then it comes from him, and he make the determination. So just the same I share with my friends, my sister, my mother, who have intention to be free, because yes, they feel very suffering. So I want to share just my very small from myself, and it's bread. Maybe a group now, 20 people, but I feel when one just keep how to know practice, how to protect themselves in the practice, make the harmony in life, then they will attract another one. So maybe my sharing is just like start from oneself. You try to practice, you try to protect yourself, your practice, make peace inside, then it just express one by one. So that's my main team.
Well,
gratitude.
Thank you so much for that. And also thank you for your understanding of what we had to do then. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, with gratitude.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we are on preservation, and we have Eamon, who is going to help us lead the discussion, please.
Thanks very much. Am I on? Yeah. Thank you. Yes, my name's Eamon. I come from London in the UK, and in London we have a thriving and buoyant mindfulness practice, and many different places you can go and learn. And there's many people for an exchange of a not small amount of money will guarantee to change your life in once weekly sessions. So there is a lot of mindfulness there. But my fear and my concern, and as I think it would fit in with here today, is it seems that mindfulness, although, as Chris was saying, it's been growing in popularity for maybe 2 decades now, seems very divorced now from Buddhism. So there seems to be this trend now as a step aside from Buddhism. I think it's what Prakriti was saying earlier on. It's like, who might own Buddhism? It's been rebranded now, like we tend to do in the West, like we heard the Venerable speak earlier about yoga. Yoga asana, the whole idea of yoga asana was to prepare someone's body so they could sit for a long time in meditation. Now, once we've got hold of it in the West, we've turned it into a multi-million-dollar industry. But there seems to be something similar now. We're seeing this effect going on with Buddhism and the mindfulness practice. I started to read around this, and it seems like it's not a lot of people wanting to sort of talk about it. It seems like quite a hot topic, but there was some research done where they approached many mindfulness teachers, and they said, okay, you teach mindfulness, and you know what was going, and they tried to make the link to Buddhism, and they said, well, the vast majority, not all, but the vast majority said, we've decided to leave out the 5 precepts. And when asked why, the response was, well, it might put people off coming, as if it might be too challenging. It might be too much of a sort of a character assessment, if you like, or people might feel too bad about themselves, all this kind of concern. So in a way, I could start to see this shift from sort of something so integral to Buddhism being diluted down now to become something that's palatable for what seems like a very sick and ailing people, you know. Whereas this idea that these precepts or the early teachings of the Dharma might be somehow damaging, you know, as if it couldn't be fruitful, it couldn't sort of lead to something else. And I thought, well, it felt like a very weak position that people took. So that was initially, and a little bit further, I looked down, I started to think that it seems very easy to, when I look at, you know, the preservation of something that's so good and wholesome, very quickly my mind kept going to the point of thinking, gosh, if the world ever needed Buddhist practice, it's right now, you know, it's right now. We had 2 years of a global pandemic. It looks like we've gone straight into World War III. You know, right now we could do with a practice. And I started thinking about, well, where does things get lost in it's the teaching. I started to think about, what about the teaching? We've mentioned it here quite a bit today about teaching. And it seems that in the big universities like the Oxford and the Cambridge in the UK, I mean, any sort of cleric, any priest or any imam you would like to see and go through the earliest scriptures and doctrines of their particular faith are fine. But to find someone to teach Pali, very few. And it seems that there's something being kind of lost or overlooked. And I'm reminded of what we heard this morning in one of the talks, I think, on global love, was the importance of promoting other faiths and other religions as well. And this sort of position of humility, which doesn't seem to kind of lend itself to establishing strongly and valuing, perhaps, maybe I'm choosing my words not very well, but to really value the early teachings and to maintain that. Because I think what we're seeing, like the mindfulness practice, it will be a slow and gradual loss, perhaps. I don't think it will, you know, this preservation, I don't think we'll lose Buddhism in a very short amount of time. But I can see over time that would happen, you know. in England we have, country Wales, and we have Ireland, and they both themselves have very, very old languages. You have Gaelic and you have the very old Welsh language. But we've seen over maybe 2 generations that we've lost them now. They're beginning to get lost. So we know what happens if we don't step about preserving something that's important and part of our culture and underpins us in some way. We can see that it gets lost, but it is a generational thing. I think it could get lost generationally. It's easy, isn't it, to point out all the problems, to say, oh, this is what's going wrong, and we live in such this materialistic world now that, it's very, very hard for the beauty of Buddhism, the humility, the kindness, the compassion. It's like it's not going to survive in such a brutal atmosphere out there, But to find a solution, well, I don't know. My feeling is, I think education is critical. I think education can regenerate. And what's generationally lost can be regenerated. I think is very, very important, I think. And to hold what's sacred about Buddhism. Yes, there seems to be a natural aversion to any ism or any anything. Perhaps, that's going this may come across as challenging or even remotely religious, I don't know. But there still is. I maintain there is something very sacred about some of the early teachings, early Buddhist teachings. And I think that if that gets lost, I appreciate there's people talking about benefits of the practice and letting that convey, let ourselves shine like that. And I see that, and I think that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Imagine kind of a world we'd live in if everybody would begin to meditate. I mean, it would be wonderful, but I still put stock in the fact of maintaining the grassroots of Buddhism and the very early teachings. And I think that would. So I think a lot more education would be wonderful.
Okay, someone have a comment about preservation? Yep, please. Oh. Okay. Okay.
Venerable and ladies and gentlemen, my name is Prashern Chun Rakshat. In English, I go by Sean, and that's probably easier to to remember. Myself, I am a member of the Council of Buddhist Support and Promotion of Chiang Rai. We established the council about 3 years ago. I saw the title of the discussion has 3 things: promotion, protection, and preservation. That makes me think about the practice of Dhamma. And there are 4 of them. When you do the Dhamma practicing, you need to go into 2 processes. The first one is called Sangvara. Sangvara means, in here, it means protection. The second one is Pahana. It means elimination or removal. The third one is Bhavana, which is promotion. And the fourth one is Anurakkhana, which is preservation. So the title of this discussion today almost fulfill all those 4 processes. Only thing that missing from this title is elimination or removal. I think in practice of Dhamma, you need to do 4 of them. I heard about Sir that's mentioned about if you go to the temple, you see something that non-Buddhist in the temple. You see the image of some deities that belong to some other religions. What you gonna do about it? Right? So if you don't have the second process, which is removal or elimination of things, then you won't be able to get rid of that deities from the temple. Because you don't do that. You do the preservation, you do protection, you do promotion, but you don't do the other thing, right? So I think one thing that I see as a Buddhist, as a lay here, Buddhism has 2 layers, right? As we know, monks are divided into 2 groups. Aranyavasi, the one who live and practice in the forest, or the Dhamma practice. The second is Kamavasi, the one who live in the villages or worldly life, close to the people. 2 groups. When we practice, we have to separate the Dhamma into those 2 groups. We cannot just say, most of the time Westerners come to Buddhist, they're going to say, oh, go to the Buddhist, you have to go and sit meditation. I think it's right in a way, but it's not totally correct. Because Buddhism has a layers of practicing. When Buddha gave a sermon to people, he started gradually from the basic unto to the ultimate. As we know, he taught Anupupikatha. I don't know if you heard of it. Is dana, giving. Sila, right? Sila. Sakha, mean heaven. Kamatinava, the force of heavens. And the last one is into Nekama, which is to Nibbana. So it's gradually from the basic thing that people can follow. We don't jump to Nibbana right away. We teach people gradually, and then that can help us to understand the basic of Buddha, of Buddhism. That's my thinking. So when we talk about thing here, from what I heard, we talk about promotion, we talk about protection, we heard about a lot of things. But I didn't hear anybody talk about elimination of the threats, elimination of something not Buddhist from what we have here. This is really critical. Right now, even very important. When I heard about people blaming Sinhalese Buddhists who fought against Muslim Buddhists, and they said that's wrong, right? That's the blemish of Buddhism, they said. Buddhists, in Buddhist history, they never have any war against anybody. I think that the stance that most of the Buddhist followers take, and that make us as kind of conservative. As a lay people, sometimes I see that make people weak, right? Because now we cannot move anywhere. If you live in Thailand, you live in Thailand. You cannot move anywhere. Before, we used to live south of China. When it was invaded by Chinese, then we moved down to along the Mekong River and finally to this place, right? So now we cannot move anywhere. So the second process, elimination, something that we need to consider, I think, to preserve or to promote, to protect Buddhism, right? Anything that's non-Buddhist, anything that gonna be harmful, gonna be the threats to Buddhist culture, we have to do that. That's something that I like to hear more, because nowadays, as me, as a member of the council here, we try not just to promote, to protect, to preserve Buddhism in Chiang Rai, but we do a little bit more to eliminate anything that can be threats to the culture, to Buddhism over here, right? That's what my take here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Did you have something you wanted to say? Okay. I made eye contact here a few minutes ago and totally forgot about it. So there you go.
So first of all, I would like to pay my respect to the Venerable Sir, Venerable Monks, and lay Buddhist, and laymen and laywomen. I'm from Laos, Lao PDR, and I joined this conference to gain some experience and I want to share some Buddhists in Lao PDR. So as we heard or we see the theme of the conference, protection and promotion, protection, preservation and of the Buddhist culture. Buddhism, as I heard a lot of most venerables say that they don't like the word religion. Yeah, actually Buddhism is not a religion. Buddhism is an education system which you can study, you can learn or practice. As Buddha said, ehipasiko. You can come and see and you can prove by yourself. And Buddhism is scientific. Why I have to say it like that? What do I mean? Because before you believe, you can practice first. You can prove by yourself. Not only read from textbook, but you have to practice by doing meditation, concentration meditation, or insight meditation. We say samatha kammathan and vipassana kammathan, right? So samatha kammathan means you have to do concentration meditation, and vipassana kammathan means insight meditation. Samatha kammathan means you have to sit down, cross your leg, and close your eye. Considerate your breathe in, breathe out, and that concentration meditation. And insight meditation, you don't need to do that. It is the one way to observe or to protect the Buddhism culture. And I couldn't agree more with with Venerable Sir. He said that the teacher or the teacher have to put the right teaching to the right person, right? We have to put the right teaching to the right person. As doctor do to the patient, doctor has to put the right medicine to the right patient. We have to teach from basic to a higher level. And then, as Buddha taught lay Buddhist, laymen and laywomen, he taught from basic one and higher and higher. As in Lao PDR, in the past maybe 400 or 500 years ago, there is no Buddhism. But the King Phangum or Chao Phangum, he brought from Cambodia into Laos maybe 400 or 500 years ago. And how do we observe or protect or promote Buddhism in Laos? In Laos, we have we call Lao Buddhist Fellowship Organization, which means to protect and promote the Buddhism in Laos. And the government of Laos support this organization. And every maybe summer from the finish high school or during the summer terms, we have to ordain or collect the young men or women to become novices or monks in order to study and learn Dhamma or learn the teaching of the Buddha. And I think that is the one way, not all, but only one way that we could do to protect or promote Buddhism in our society. And how do we teach people for the right teaching and to the right person? Because some of the teacher or the Buddhist, they don't understand the right teaching and teach people. For example, he never test this water, but he said that this water is delicious, it's tasty, but he never tasted this one before. And how do we spread or teach other people to understand the teaching of the Buddha. So we have to study deeply first, and we can practice by ourselves in order to teach other people to follow us and follow the teaching of the Buddha. I think it is the significant one. We have to embrace by ourselves. We have to focus by ourselves first. Yes, and now in Laos we have the Lao Buddhist Fellowship Organization, and we have the Committee of Foreign Affairs. So to work with other countries like Theravada Buddhism in Southeast Asia, like Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Burma, Sri Lanka, something like that. Yeah, in order to work together, and to preserve the teaching of the Buddha. And the cause of the separate, we have two schools of Buddhism, right, as most people know, well known. Because the root of the separate of the Buddhism is misunderstanding of the teaching of the Buddha, right? So when you translate or from the language, from Pali language into other language, merely misunderstood. And the cause of misunderstood will cause the separate one, separate into the other sections, yeah. And as I mentioned, Buddhism is not a religion. Buddhism is not a religion. Buddhism is an education system. And we don't worship Buddha. We don't worship Buddha. We respect him as a teacher because he gives us the great path as the noble eightfold path, and which we can follow to lead us to enter nirvana. Okay, thank you so much.
Can you hear well? Gratitude. Thank you for giving this opportunity. I would like to just make a few comments or comment more on I think the kind of, sorry, I forgot everyone's names, of course, so quick. So I just feel a few things were not quite addressed or not answered, and I'll try to wrap it up kind of together in one string nicely. So first of all, just to offer a bit of background, we are all four of us coming from Wat Tatong, which is our just a passing by abiding, meaning it is not our home, it is not our residence, it is just our dwelling at the moment. In a sense, I could say I'm not an expat. I don't consider myself an expat because I don't have a home. I don't have a nationality. Since I became a monk, my nationality is the disciple of the Buddha. I'm not a foreigner either in that regard, because a foreigner or an outsider is someone who stands with no understanding of the teaching of the Buddha, and he remains outside. He remains a foreigner to the teaching. So four of us are part of a group of international monks, and all four of us, we happen to have an experience in also communicating with what we're using the word propagating today to the foreigners. Venerable Supabuddha is working with or supporting yogis, yogis meaning practitioners in Netherlands, or more like Europe and Argentina, then Venerable Bodhipanyo, Vietnam, and myself, US and India, and Venerable Amita kind of helps, also particularly helps the nuns, the nun community. So just to address some of the things that were mentioned and some of the things that I personally came across in the process of supporting the foreign yogis, so-called foreign yogis. Well, one thing is that it's just so important to have no confusion as to when we speak about, we've mentioned this word Buddhism. So what are we trying to protect? The question was, well, what are we protecting? So for me, it's very important to separate the teaching, separate it from religion, and separate it again from culture. For me, it's a completely different phenomenon. So when we speak about the teaching, nothing really threatens the teaching. And this is one of the things that the Buddha mentioned, that the very nature of the teaching is forever remains pure. It's unsullied. So, but how it can become defiled in a manifestation of the world, again, the Buddha said, the moment he was presenting the nature of the Dhamma, he said there is no threat to this dispensation there could be no threat from any ascetic, any contemplative, any Brahmin, any prince, or from anyone at all. The only deterioration that can come to this present moment manifestation of the Dhamma or the teaching is the inner corruption of the teaching, meaning lack of practice, lack of direct knowledge of the teaching. So my personal intention and my kind of, you can say, a purpose of my life is to preserve the teaching. And again, we bring back, and as you could understand, some mentioned the aspect of practice. Yes, we specifically focus more on practice. And it doesn't mean that we don't know any theoretical knowledge. We haven't done any studies. Some done more, some less, but eventually we come to a point, we all came to a point to emphasize the direct knowledge over all others and use direct knowledge first to, through direct knowledge, see and interpret things that we discover in say, suttas or other sources. So when looking at the teaching, and now coming maybe to the process of, or mentioning this phenomena of mindfulness being devoid of Buddhism recently, I may say something that may seem shocking maybe to some of you, but mindfulness does not lead to liberation. Well, I don't know if you were sort of hoping for that or expecting that, but mindfulness won't do it. Buddha did not teach just mindfulness. The teaching, if we generalize it, or the Buddha put it, is the Noble Eightfold Path. And specifically, it begins again, as some speaker mentioned before, some people are repelled by sila. Well, we don't have to start with sila, because the teaching starts with the right view. So that's what first and foremost should be introduced. Again, made very clearly in that separation of what is the teaching, what is the core, or what is the essence, what serves the purpose of liberation. And we separate other things, we put other things aside. So as I think Chris was speaking on from abroad, I felt there was a bit of confusion there to what is culture and what is teaching. So when there is, because it is important if the glass is free of stain, and we cannot also, if we want to protect, if we want to protect and preserve Buddhism, we cannot just take out from the teaching. We can adopt the culture, we can adopt sort of religious aspects, very closely linked, but we cannot take out, and according to preference or non-preference of some cultures and religions, to pick and choose what we're going to introduce, because then it's like from a car, we take out a part, very essential part, from an engine, and it's just not going to work. It's just not going to take us where we want to go. We can change the color of the car, we can change what kind of seats they're going to be in, and so forth, but there is something essential, and it's very important to identify very clearly what is this essential. So for the purpose of finding this essential aspects and separating, and again, another speaker mentioned the removal, and this is true, it's very rarely happening. It's just things keep accumulating and agglomerating and growing on top of each other, and very rarely people are just kind of bold enough to start removing and stripping things down to the essence. Somewhat And it is somewhat ironical because the teaching of the Buddha is more about stripping and removing the conditionings and different biases. It is more about letting go and stripping rather than keep aggregating and accumulating. So if in our practice we are very clear with our goals, with our objectives, and then very sincerely we bring forth this distinction and separation, what pertains to the teaching, what to culture, to religion, and we stick with the teaching, which is just very effective path. Again, in terms of the what is it, people were saying the word philosophy or other. It is a path. It is not something that is going to work if you just going to think about it or talk about it. It's really works only when you walk it, and that's where you, as we there's an expression, walk the walk. So that's where you start really reaping the benefits. And as you get there, that's when you start to realize and you truly become the protector of the teaching. And in a way, again, clearly identifying why we come, and Venerable Supa Buddha mentioned the point, liberation. So 4 of us, we're very coming into this Dhamma, just had one objective, liberation, total freedom and cessation of suffering, and we continue on this. But it does not mean that we turn down people that have other objectives currently. We just encourage them for the sake of gradual improvement of their lifestyle, which is also just their happiness and present in this life. But in the process, they are exposed to the right view. And as they learn about suffering, as they understand personally, indirectly more about suffering, it is often naturally that the more and more this intention to liberation begins to arise. And then people become more ready to travel further, to walk further. Because one, again, using this metaphor that I shared previously about the trip, let's get more specific. Okay, we're not just going to some mountains in Himalayas. We want to get to the Mount Everest, and we want to get to the top of Mount Everest. So it is really not that that great of promotion or the advertisement if you go on this trip and you end up walking around and this forest and that forest, and maybe you walk around for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 60 years. Well, eventually the question does come, well, have you gone to the top of the mountain? Because this is what the path promises. This is what the Buddha promised with that path. So I just encourage everyone who is already considering himself walking the path to not be content and satisfied walking around and round. Confirm it for yourself by going to the top of the mountain. And only then you can rightfully say that this is true. The teaching of the Buddha is true. I've seen it, I know it. Gratitude.
Okay, thank you. And that actually is a nice way to wrap up this meeting because we are out of time. But we always close. We have a closing prayer here that we always do at the very end. If you have a booklet, you can follow along. I believe it's page 3. It's got the page with the opening prayer on top and the closing prayer on the bottom. May whatever merit come. Thank you very much and have a safe return to wherever you're going to.